Hello everyone and welcome to our circle and Salve Women. For today I'm going to be talking about if you can hear me now, Papa. And this really, I wrote this article around the time of Father's Day. And of course, happy Father's Day to all. It's just, amazing feeling to know that I've really shared good memories with my dad. And it's also an amazing feeling to know that I recall him smiling at those times. But as we know, there's always going to be moments where we were definitely just tried in having that relationship and, not so certain of how to handle a moment of growth, because by the time that I was in sixth grade, and I mentioned this in my article, it was just, I could feel myself now starting to, and I look back, that was a time when your peers became more important. And it started to in fifth grade or so, but by sixth grade, I really started to realize that I was starting to desire more other than sitting down and watching cartoons with my papa or, Scooby-Doo. And mine used to be He-Man and She-Ra and Thundercats back in the day. And those were, my moments where I remember seeing my papa sit down with me and we would just enjoy. We wouldn't even have to talk. We would just sit there and laugh. And we will always have these moments with our own fathers where we look back and go, goodness, that was a time I shared with him. And those are moments you're never going to be able to replace with anyone else. Those are moments to capture in your memory and knowing that was us. That's what we did. And yet you grow out of it and you don't know how to really express it. You don't know how to really say, I'm kind of done with this. And you slowly start to go, oh, Papa, I'm going to go play outside. And there was that time we had lived right across the street from our school, or that my cousin would walk with me who was 2 years older, and so there was always something to do other than just sit home and watch cartoons or watch Three's Company, and so you could see that they were sensing it. They wouldn't essentially say, hey, I need you to sit down and watch this with me. I knew that and trusted that he was seeing I was starting to have other interests. But what I wasn't prepared for, what I was taking for granted, is that he was also moving on. And I look back now and realize that, I remember during this time where they were starting to have conversations. And I remember, again, just quietly eavesdropping, because I would hear, our rental home wasn't that big, but I would hear them say, oh, we should go put her in a convent and go back and put her back, or whatever it was. To my recollection, the words, there were key words in there, but I remember just thinking to myself, oh, I'm going to be sent back. And my recollection of being in a convent was not a fun one. And so for me, I thought to myself, okay, if that is what they wish, this is what I have to honor. I remember my brother who had passed away. By the way, I told you I like to just work with things. And one of the things that I did just to kind of embrace that I'm going to go into my summer break is I made a coat, but I'm really into shrugs. I know it's kind of funny, but I made this one and I'm not sure if I was going to add anything to it. I like it. I like how I've added the hood, and this is just me. I like to do things different. I've always been that way. Tacky as ever in my life, but it has caused me, thank you to my brother who taught me how to sew and use a sewing machine. I did my prom dress. I did, hand-me-downs, tore it apart and everything. So these are things that I would think to myself, look, Papa, look what I made. Like, it would just be something that I always like to do. And so for me, they're just things that, you put aside and you say to yourself, I'm growing up. These are things that I like to do. And I started getting a job when I was 14 years old, paying for my way. I mean, by the time I was, I think, 15 or 16, like I paid for my own phone bill, and when we had landlines back then, because I knew that I was starting to really need my privacy and I needed to be outside from anything. I needed to just internalize. I needed to find my way through. I remember just really starting to find my own independence. And yet I didn't realize that my parents were seeing that as well. And I recall again, quietly eavesdropping, where my papa had said to my mom, you know, she's old enough for us to just go to the Philippines and just now spend some time, you know, by ourselves. And my mama had decided to stay behind she had her own reasons. And my mom and I, she was a little bit more quiet to herself. And so it left me really feeling this piece of like, oh, okay, they felt that I was independent enough, that I was able to responsibly take care of myself, because my older siblings, you know, they were doing their own thing. And so for me, I didn't realize how much of a factor Papa was until he was actually gone for several months. And you know, I went into my sophomore year without the guidance, and actually like just ending my freshman year to my sophomore year. And I still remember my friend Kenya and I, like, we were living in this apartment that was away from our school, and we didn't have a school bus that would really take us there, and so we would have to find means to get on the bus, a public bus, and then get to school. And I remember being late many times, and you know, going into school and to a point where they had to call home. And I remember, because my mama had mentioned it, that I wasn't getting to school on time. It wasn't like, what can I do? My mom didn't drive, and so there was anything that anyone could do, but mama just reminding me that, you know, I didn't need to get to school. And there was no way of just situating that other than I had to find my way to get to school on time. And then I started to respect that and understanding, oh, I can't be late every time. And just thankfully, by the end of, you know, halfway through that year, then I was able to move closer to the school where I could just walk. So I was thankful for that. But, you know, without Papa's presence, I didn't realize how devoid of that very presence was, like, you know, to not see him there. And of course I ignored it in my head, because subconsciously you move on, you move forward, and you say to yourself, yeah, you know, you're grown up, you don't need anyone. And so I really truly believe I carried that on, and all the way through when then I became an adult. And it's interesting, because then when your parents start to reach out to you, I then realized that the relationship had changed. And it was like, by the time I was in college, I had my own children, you know, I mean, all of us, right? We have these things that pull us away from what used to be to now what has to be. And so here I am thinking to myself, I am, you know, going into college, and I have my husband and I with our first child, and by my senior year I was having my second child, and I was going through my teacher certificate. I wanted to finish everything and accomplish everything without any need of anyone. And you know, my parents not ever wanting them to worry. I really want to say, I think I probably only got like $1 from my papa a long time ago when we had to temporarily be on food stamps, and he gave me a $1 food stamp a long time ago. And you know, it was something that I was even shameful for him trying to give me something to use, because for me I'd always just work for what I had. And so that was my inner strength. And you know, it's nothing valorous about it. It's what you do because of what you do. And so for me, I just remember going forward and thinking, okay, these are things I got to focus on. I got to get done, because I'm not going to spend another year, another moment in my life having to do something that I could be doing quickly, getting out of the way. And so by the time I was 22, I'd already finished it. And I was thankful for surrounding myself with people who know how to finish, you know, really know how to not make excuses. And that was my husband alone. I mean, he was truly, because he was done. And he was done with his computer science degree. Like for me, it was like my push, like what have I got but just the time now to make sure that this gets done and gets finished. And I'm thankful that I never was around people around that time who were just, you know, good with doing absolutely nothing with their lives, and they were happy that way. Not that they were they were bad company, because sometimes good company is what causes you to slow down. And thankfully I was too busy for that. And so really it was, just having those short phone calls with Papa or Mama at times when she would, just call me and sometimes have some things to share about my pop. Really, honestly, it was just like sometimes when you became an adult, you would be the person to have to listen. And that time, I was the one that I felt like they would call sometimes to share their moments, but I had so much things going on. And I was selfishly deep inside thinking to myself, I don't have time for any of this. I've got to focus on my own children. I have to focus on my own partnership with my husband. And we were going forward, and we continue to do that. And it was only until he had gone where then I realized, wow, you can never take those moments back. I should have sat there when I remember watching cartoons with my younger two children, my oldest children. I should have sat down and watched with him. But here I was busy cleaning in the kitchen and doing other things, as he was doing that. I had moments where we talked, but I should have made it longer. I should have asked more. I remember as he was ailing and, he was in his last days, he had passed away, unfortunately, of cancer that we didn't even know he had. So it was a fairly quick one. And so I remember bringing this journal, and I said to myself, this is the time that you could start asking questions. And I remember asking him, and I started asking him, and it was like this silence that I felt, and where it was like, does he think I know he's leaving? And then I was like, no, I'm not gonna ask you today. I'll see you tomorrow, because it was more of the strength building in him. It's like, if I'm asking him, he must think that I already think he's gone. And it was just something that in me that told me stop asking questions. And I respected that inner feeling. But now I look and I go, I should have kept going, but there's no regrets. Those are moments in life where you make decisions where you go, I made that choice because I felt it was the right one. And I'm not going to look back and go, I should have asked more, I should have asked more, should have asked more. Even though I hear myself saying it, I know that the strength in me that he has built, that he has planted, he was a part of that. And it could have been inadvertent, right? Having left me when I realized he could have been there, then it was like, but look at all the things that I got to do. I found ways to get to school with Kenya, who's his father, I believe, was in the military. Like, we found change, and we did things to get to school on time. And then by the time we moved to another house and he was back, this one was a rental, then I was able to walk. Like, there was no question, no doubt that I knew how to finish, because of the fact that sometimes in people's absence, it is when you find your own inner strength. And so now that I look back, I think to myself, nothing happens to weaken you. You make that ultimate choice to say to yourself, this is who I am. This is what I am facing. This is a beautiful blessing, no matter how challenging it may be. But I am given this moment to have the strength to pursue what I need to get to where I need to go. And whether Papa was there or not, I know that he's looking at me and saying, yep, there you are, like your coat, like my painting that I've started. Just the things you do is what you do because you are who you are. And regardless of whether you think that someone else should have been there, you were there alone at times because you were believed to take that journey on your own. You had it all in you. You needed nothing from anyone to pursue your dreams, your passion, everything that was meant to be, will be, because you already are that masterpiece that needed to make it happen. And so, in the words of my mother, God bless us all. Thank you, Papa, for just giving me the strength, whether it was on purpose or by accident. You were that piece that made this that made me who I am, that helped me to get started on a strong foundation with my husband, with my children, so that I could pursue and love being this self that doesn't feel like I need to be outside of my realm to find me. Have a great day, everyone. May you feel the same way, and if not, may you find that inner peace in you and that inner strength in you to know you've got it. You've got everything you need to pursue whatever it is that you need to accomplish. We'll see you next time.